Hey, welcome to FreeThinking Ministries, a podcast where we want to help people reason together by applying logic and sound theology to all aspects of life. And we've got a show for you. Debates, friendships. Tim, you're no stranger to debates and friendships ruining debates, or debates ruining friendships, or something like that. But sometimes debates can include friendships and we can move the ball forward. And that's what we're going to be talking about today with some of our friends.
Adam Johnson is going to be here, and I've known him for several years now. Never forget the first time he drove to Kearney, Nebraska to introduce himself to me, and we just quickly realized that we were two peas in a pod. We saw things similar. We both had strong convictions on libertarian freedom, on moralism, and virtually everything else regarding theology. And so we became fast friends. And then Andrew Drinkard. Here's a guy. I think I was actually the guy that introduced Andrew to Adam. Let them correct me if I'm wrong here, but I've known Adam, I think, longer than anybody else in the apologetics world, because he worked with my wife's aunt in Kansas. Andrew Drinkard worked with her, and I remember, that was kind of early on when I was getting into apologetics. I think it was at Biola at the time. Maybe I just finished, and so our Aunt Kim introduced me to Andrew, and I had a phone call with him. Pretty soon he starts coming to these events and getting plugged in, and it's just awesome to see God using both these guys now. So Josh, why don't you bring them on here?
Yeah. Well, before we do that, I want to share in 2022, Adam Lloyd Johnson, Christian philosopher, our friend, he walked into an atheist convention with conviction and debated Dan Barker, and we've got a short clip to play before we bring them on, because we are featured as a ministry in the Q&A section. Here it is.
Free will is, I'm a big believer in free will, libertarian free will. There's a friend of mine who has a similar ministry to mine called the FreeThinking ministry. He's kind of taken that idea and saying, free thinking, that really under theism is the best explanation for how we could have free will. And without free will, it would be difficult to even make a case that we can trust our own beliefs. And so he has an argument, it's called the free thinking argument, where he...
Okay, you do have that argument, and it was cool to be a part of that. But it is also it has turned into a book, and we're going to talk about the book today. You have the book with you. I don't think they can see it right now. There it is, Debating God's Existence. It is edited by Andrew Drinkard. It's about this very debate that we just watched a clip from, and that debate has 67,000 views. So go watch it again if you haven't seen it. It's a great debate. And by the way, this book is the only book that is endorsed by Dr. William Lane Craig and atheist Alex O'Connor, formerly known as the Cosmic Skeptic. So it's really good. Let's bring these guys onto the stage now without any further ado. Adam Johnson and Andrew Drinkard. Hey, guys.
Howdy.
Hello.
Good to have you guys here today. Thank you. Yeah.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah. Did I get the story right? Did I introduce the two of you at an EPS?
That sounds right. I think it did happen that way.
No, I think I have the best memory out of all of us on here.
Okay.
What happened was, which is pretty wild. I did meet Tim through his aunt, and I think that was about 7 years ago. And that was what got, after I talked to Tim, he convinced me to join Reasonable Faith. And so I did that. And then we have our annual meetings for Reasonable Faith, the chapter directors, that coincides with EPS and ETS. And so I think it was like in my first year, I went down to Dallas, at Fort Worth, I should say, Worth, where the EPS, ETS was at. And I saw Adam, and I recognized him from a debate that I watched online, where he hosted at NC State between Eric Wielenberg and William Lane Craig.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And I was like, hey, man, I said, you did a good job moderating that debate. I just happened to run into him at a session. And Adam was like, oh, cool. And so we just kept running into each other at this conference, and from there, and then we found out that Tim was friends with him, and so we all started kind of hanging out and talking and stuff. So it all happens in a similar way, Tim, but that's kind of the story how it goes. So that all happened through God's providence, and it's pretty wild how the story all came about, of us all meeting each other. It's pretty cool.
Well, I do remember at least trying to introduce you guys. You probably had already met him earlier that week, but I remember us all hanging out quite a bit that year, and I think we do every November now at the EPS. We have a lot of fun hanging out together, and I'm looking forward to this year in Denver.
Right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like a true editor, Andrew sets the record straight.
Yes, he does.
That's right.
And gets it going. So, guys, really, really excited for the book. I know it's been a long time coming. Andrew, I think I met you like 3 years ago, and that was when you were like, "Hey, I got this book. We're trying to figure out, publisher, and we're trying, you had people that were going to write for it that end up backing out and need to find new people, and it's a labor of love, but it is a labor. But I think it's an important book because it shows how debate can happen, and with people on very polarized opposite ends of the spectrum, right? But it can still be friendly in a world that seems very polarized and unfriendly. And that's kind of the tenor of the debate. So, Adam, let's just go to the debate. So this debate experience that you had, it was, what was it, the Free Thought Conference in Florida? Is that what it was?
Yeah, I think the abbreviation that they use, or the acronym, is Free Flow. But bottom line, it's a large atheist convention that they have every year in Orlando. So just imagine a big hotel, weekend type conference. They had breakout sessions, keynote speakers, but that year at the conference, they wanted to have a debate. So that's how I got invited.
So what was it like walking into an atheist conference? Had you been to an atheist conference before? And
no.
What was it like walking into one almost behind enemy lines, as it were?
Yeah, it was kind of a surreal experience. I maybe getting asked to do it, I had some trepidation as to what it would be like, and I'm so glad that Andrew, I can tell you the story of how him and I ended up pairing together for this, but I was so glad that he was willing and able to come with me, just for that, moral support, just to know that I had a friend in the crowd, because there were hundreds of people there in the audience, but I would guess that 99% of them were atheists. So to have Andrew there was huge, and we wanted to befriend folks while we were there. So we wanted to spend the whole weekend with them, have drinks, get food, hang out, try to break down maybe those stereotypes they have of Christians. So one story that I like to tell is they kicked off their conference Friday night. It was a weekend conference, but Friday night they kicked it off with just a party, and they did an 80s themed party. So people were going dressed up in 80s clothes, 80s costumes, just 80s themed party. And I went dressed up because I'm a child of the 80s, so I love dressing up as 80s characters. I went dressed up as my favorite villain, Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
Because I told them, as I told them, I know in that environment, I was the bad guy, right? I was the villain. So we had a lot of fun with it. We got some pictures with me slicing my Freddy claw across the chest of some famous atheist.
Nice.
We just had a good time with it. And I think that kind of kicked off, broke down some walls, just helped us relax, helped them relax. And Andrew, you can speak for yourself, but I never felt attacked or ridiculed, or I felt very welcome and treated kindly the whole time we were there.
That's awesome. Adam and I were both children of the 80s, and although you can see some of the evidence of that back here, if Adam turned his camera around, he would see the full force of his. I guarantee he's got the best office of anybody in the field, and it just transform. I believe I see Soundwave right now. Am I right?
Oh, yep. Soundwave's over here in the corner.
So yeah, man. Someday, Adam, you're gonna have to reveal just how awesome your office is to the world.
Be like
not today. Not today.
Philosophy's version of Cribs. You remember that show?
Yeah, that's right. That's
awesome.
Dude, that'd be a great idea for a YouTube channel.
Yeah. Philosophy Cribs. You get 4 subscribers. Andrew, what were you saying?
Oh, when we were down there, like Adam said, at that 80s party, we were starting to talk to them, and they knew about the debate the next day. And as they found out that in the conversation, they found out that we were the Christians there visiting, they're like, what in the world? They thought it was so cool that we came out to hang out with them. And we had some good conversations, and they actually thanked Adam and I just for having chats and personal conversations on the side with them about this stuff, because they're like, wow, I can actually tell you guys, I've done your research, and it's refreshing to talk to someone that, is actually answering some of these questions and not just quoting Bible verses at me. I grew up in the church, and I had questions, and I was looked down on for asking that. I was told to have more faith, and it really just turned me off. And so several people, guys and girls, were thanking me and Adam for at that party, thanking us for having conversations with them and giving them a few reasons for why we believe God existed, and why Christianity was true, and in preparation for Adam's debate the next day. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It reminds me of one of our favorite atheists. You guys know him, Richard Suttles, does that with the Christian conferences. So kind of does it on the other end of the spectrum. So it's good to hear that you guys were able to do that. So let's, as you talk about that debate, that's what this book is about. Was there a specific moment on stage, Adam, when, as you were having the conversation, or maybe it was even before the debate, where it was like, oh, this is more of a genuine dialogue of searching for truth rather than just a debate, where I'm actually becoming friends with this person despite our differences? Was that on the stage? Was it off?
I would say it was probably before. I mean, that's a bit of my MO. I think I have a reputation for friendly conversation. Some of my readers and such, I think, would prefer me to be a bit more aggressive towards my opponents. But I've always just found that being more aggressive towards your opponent might get your side rallied up more, like rally around the flag type mentality. But being aggressive towards your opponent usually has the opposite effect towards those you're trying to reach. The more aggressive you are with them, the more they're turned off. And so my goal isn't to gain as many followers as I can, but to try to reach people for Christ. And if that's a better strategy, to do it less aggressively, more kindly, more respectfully, then that's what I strive to do. My hero is Francis Schaeffer. And even though I fall short, I strive and aspire to serve others and interact with others the way that he did. And he is one of the most kind-hearted apologists I've ever seen. And so they knew, when they invited me, they knew that I would bring that mentality to the debate. So I think even from the very beginning, there was that sort of standard, there was that sort of expectation on my side and their side that it was going to be a friendly debate. And I'm thankful that's how it turned out.
How did they initially make contact with you, or how were they aware of you? Was it your interaction with Craig and Wielenberg, or how'd that go?
No, if I remember correctly, there were just a lot of connections. When they started reaching out to people down there, when they realized that they wanted to have a debate at that particular conference, they started reaching out to folks down there. I think there was a Ratio Christi club that was close by. At the time, I was working for Ratio Christi,
that's
and I think some Ratio Christi folks are the ones who ended up contacting me. So it was kind of a connection from a connection from a connection.
Got it.
That eventually they pulled me in and asked me, and it kind of resulted from, and this isn't as evident in the book, but a lot of this also comes from a relationship that developed down in Orlando between an atheist and a pastor down there. And you have to remind me of some of the names, Andrew, but was it David and
Andy?
Andy, yeah. So a pastor down there was going into the public school system with Bible studies and stuff like we often do. And one of the atheists down there was troubled by that and tried to stop that. And those two were started out kind of combative towards one another over their differences, but over time became good friends, David and Andy. And so this debate actually grew out of that relationship. So even before Dan Barker and I were up on stage having our public debate, Andy and David both got up and talked a little bit about their friendship, and they wanted this debate to kind of be an extension of that. So there's some neat background to this debate and how it developed in a more friendly way that I'm excited about.
Yeah, one last thing before we get to the book about the debate. As you think back on it, have you rewatched it? And if you have, is there anything that you're like, man, I wish I would have been more clear there, or I've maybe changed some of the way I would approach this question afterwards? Feel free to answer that how you would like.
Yeah, I've watched clips of it. I haven't watched the whole thing because I just can't stand watching myself on video and hearing my own voice like most people. I double speed. I talk so slowly. I think slow and I talk slow. So every time I watch myself, I have to, for editing purposes, sometimes I double speed myself because I just talk so slow, it bores myself. But one thing that I wish I would have answered maybe differently towards the end of the debate, the moderator asked us if there's any point that the other person made that we agreed with or thought was a good point. And I guess I maybe should have clarified exactly what I meant when I explained what I thought Dan Barker got right, because afterwards and in the book and later, Dan took that and ran with it, and he ran with it in a different direction than I intended. So if I would have clarified that better, maybe that would have helped. Basically, what I was trying to say is and I concentrate on meta ethics. That's what I specialize in is meta ethics. Where does morality come from? And for Dan, the atheist that I debated, his moral framework is based on the harm principle. If something causes harm, then it's evil. And I was trying to say that, hey, harm can be a good epistemological tool to help us to know if something is good or evil, but it doesn't work as the ultimate decider, like the ontological decider or determiner of what's good and evil. It's a good epistemological tool. So I was trying to give him some props, but he took that and ran with it. So I wish I would have clarified my answer a bit more.
So yeah, I mean, were you pushing on, or you were trying to say, hey, harm is a good way that we can tell if somebody's flourishing or not, but that doesn't mean it's objectively, on atheism, why would it be objectively good to flourish?
Yeah. It's just
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times when folks have meta-ethical frameworks or meta-ethical systems with some sort of basic bottom line principle, like don't harm others,
Mm-hmm.
that they're not able to go any deeper than that and
Right.
explain, well, why
Right.
is harming others evil?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where they flounder and they can't go any further than that. So I was trying to press that a bit, but you only got limited time, and
Right.
in the book I was able to clarify a bit more.
That's good.
That's good. That's a good transition point to the book as well. Andrew, so you were there, you went to the debate. How did it formulate to, hey, this is a debate? It'd be kind of cool for us to make it into a book. Let's find other experts and then have the original debaters reply. How did it morph into that and into this book?
Yeah. So I think Adam was saying, hey, this would be cool if this turned into a book. And so that was Adam's idea. And I said, yeah. And he said, would you be willing to run with it? It'd be your baby. You'd be the one that spearheading this stuff, because obviously he was super busy with a lot of things. And I said, sure. I did not know what I was about to take on, but I did. I really just wanted to have some of these people weigh in, some of these world-leading experts. That's the other thing that's unique about this book, is not only is there world-leading experts involved, but I also wanted to give voice to people that are non-professional academics, right? They don't do it for a living, but yet they have a large following. So like Joe Fawley, Atheist on Unsolicited Advice. Has, I don't know, 1 million subscribers or something, but a big up and coming guy. And I thought it would be good for him. Ben Watkins, if you guys know from Real Atheology, same thing. But then also at the same time, people like Philip Goff and getting him to join on, and David Enoch. And then, of course, to my surprise, and to many other people's surprise, in the middle of this book, Philip Goff contacts me and he's like, man, I just want, I don't think I can write for you because I am now a theist. Actually, he said Christian, a mildly heretical Christian, which that just shows you that how important debate is, because that's exactly why Philip ended up changing his mind on his views, is because of philosophy of religion and the arguments that he's encountered. But it's just really cool that how that happened. But anyways, I was like, okay, so dude, this is awesome. But at the same time, I'm really going to be screwed if you drop this, because we're already along almost, I've already extended out with publishing the deadlines and having writers, say different stuff to where it had to be extended and pushed back already.
Wait. So were you asking him to be an atheist just a little bit longer?
Yeah, right. I said, okay. I said, can you write this from still a non-theistic perspective? And I was like, just write it like you would had you not just become a Christian.
Wow.
And he said, sure, I can do that. So thankfully he did. And the publisher at Erdman's, they put in, I had them put in something there explaining that, because it shows him in the title and the contents as the non-theist. However, he was a theist at the time of this writing. So there's a note in there right beneath his name on the front page of his chapter on fine tuning, where he's writing and saying, it explains why he's now a theist, but yet writing from a non-theist perspective. So that's kind of how a lot of people just took a lot of time reaching out to a lot of different people. A lot of people said no, but thankfully a lot of people said yes, and I get it, because it is a time commitment. I also wanted I wanted these responses to be more robust. I'm tired of debate books that I've seen having where the atheist writes, like 4 or 5 pages, or maybe 8 pages worth, and then you have someone responding of 1 page worth. The theist is responding, and then the atheist gets to respond back with 2 paragraphs, and then the last word goes to the Christian, and it's 1 paragraph, and it's just so superficial. So I thought it would be better just to be more friendly in this thing, bring in these experts from both sides, Christian, non-Christian, and say, hey, respond to what the debate had to say. You have 9,000 words to do it. That's a lot, so it just gives them a chance to weigh in with their expertise and really dig deep concerning the debate. So that's kind of the reason why I wanted it to be like that.
Well, and I want to tell the story too of how Andrew got involved in the first place, because I need to give him some props here. He found out about the debate ahead of time, and that I was preparing for this debate and getting ready for it, and he reached out to me and he said, "How can I help?" And I don't think he had any huge, aspirations of even going to the debate or turning this into a book. He just wanted to know if he could help me prepare behind the scenes. And I said, yeah, for sure. I'll take all the help that I can get. And he did a bunch of research looking into Dan Barker's previous debates and just kind of helping me prepare anything that might come up that Dan might bring up in the debate. So we worked together just to prepare me for the debate. And then I asked him if he'd be willing to come down to Florida with me, and he did, of course. And we just had we had a great time. Besides the debate and the conference, him and I had a blast down in Florida doing a whole bunch of stuff together, just us two, before and after the conference. And then later, as he explained, we turned it into a book together. So it's been a privilege, I want to say, to you, Andrew, to work together with you on this, and to be friends through it all, and really grow our friendship through it. I've really enjoyed it. So thank you.
Likewise.
Well, Adam has had several publications and has been somewhat known. But Andrew, did you ever? I mean, what's really cool about what Adam just said is you were just offering to help a brother in Christ prepare for the debate, and you had no idea that was going to lead to this book with your name on the cover with with all-stars, with all-star philosophers.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just really cool how, I mean, some of us have known you for several years, and you know, and I actually both of you, and in my recent book, you know, because of all the conversations we've had. But Andrew, I've seen this tremendous potential in your life for years now, and so it doesn't surprise me that you've got a book here. But I just love how to watch God work in His sovereignty and how this worked. You were just asking to help, and that has led to this book that I think is going to make waves, big waves, for years to come. So it's really exciting. I just thank you, both of you, for doing this.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we think more about the book, well, and one of the people that was in the book is Alex Malpass, right? And that was and that's someone Tim has debated. He debated on the Unbelievable podcast. And so, like you said, there's so many names. Andrew, you are also not only the editor, but you contribute in the book concerning the divine hiddenness. And we'll get to that in a little bit. So there's all sorts of people. So what was it like, Adam, I'll ask you this question. What was it like to sit with responses from all of those people? Robin Collins, Joshua Rasmussen, Philip Goff, Alex Malpass, David Enoch, others, and then write your reply to all of that. Yeah. So you've got all of these names, and now you have to write a response to all of these names. What was that like?
Oh, it was humbling, I tell you. And you're always working with deadlines too. So these guys would get in their chapters, and then I would have so much time to respond, and you know, you're under quite a bit of stress because you want to respond well and not straw man anybody. So you really want to understand their position as best you can. And I'm just humbled by some of the people, just so everybody knows the way that the book is laid out. So it starts out with the transcript of the debate. So everything that Dan and I said that night, edited a little bit just afterwards, but for the most part, a transcript of our debate. And then he and I wrote an additional chapter covering things we just didn't have time to cover in the debate. And then you've got these 10 other contributors, 5 atheists, 5 Christians, who are responding to issues we raised in the debate. And then at the end, Dan and I both get to write concluding chapters responding to those 10 contributors. So I'm just humbled by the names. I mean, I'm not very well known. I don't have the greatest credentials. I'm thankful for the opportunities God brings my way to serve others. But man alive, some of these contributors are huge names in the field with incredible credentials and popularity. And so to have them respond to what Dan and I did was quite humbling. And then I've got to respond to them. And so I'm wading through their material, doing my best to respond. Especially I wanted to focus, of course, on the atheist and the issues that they raised. And so I gave my best shot with that final concluding chapter, responding to issues. And I focus on metaethics because that's what I specialize in. So most of my concluding chapter has to do with the moral argument for God. But I had to touch on some, first cause issues, some fine-tuning issues, philosophy of mind issues. So it was a great experience for me to dig in and do a bit more research and respond to some of these giants.
I bet it seems surreal at times for you, just being out here in the middle of flyover country in Lincoln, Nebraska, and you're looking at these giants who are responding to your work, and now you've got to respond to them. I mean, did you ever just sit back and think, God, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I mean, you think about a kid growing up in rural Nebraska, and I talked about this in the debate, hunting, fishing, baling hay. I mean, I just had no aspirations as a kid for academics or any sort of academic ministry, but God often does. I mean, he takes people that you would not suspect or unlikely people and puts them in situations that you wouldn't expect them to serve others in, and that's what he's done with me, and I strive to do my best with it. I'm not the brightest candle, but I do my best trying to make a case for the existence of God and point people to faith in Christ.
Hey, we hope you're enjoying the conversation so far. Hey, please do us a favor. Check and see if you're subscribed. If you're not, a lot of you aren't, but if you're not, please subscribe, hit that notification bell. We'll get back to the episode in just a second, but we can only exist also because of viewers like you, people who support our channel. So you can go to freethinkingministries.com/donate and you can be a part of the team. We'd love to put you on our email list as well. Okay, now back to the conversation. Along that line, Andrew, you hinted at this before. You contributed to the book. Now, you're no stranger to contributing to academic literature. You've been published in journals and things like that. So it's not like you took the opportunity to edit a book and then insert yourself. That's not what happened, right? So I don't know if people would think that, but I wanted to make sure people knew that you have earned your stripes in your own right. But what was it like for you to be like, well, not only am I editing this, but now I'm going to contribute this chapter? That adds another layer of stress, maybe, or excitement, or both.
Yeah, a little bit of both. Yep. So I wasn't really. I mean, I didn't think that I would become an expert in divine hiddenness. But I mean, it's just, again, God works in mysterious ways, and next thing I know, I find myself writing and researching and reading a lot on this topic. And yeah, it's pretty crazy to be able to submit that information and engaged in that way. But yeah, it was pretty surprising. It was pretty exciting though.
Let me ask you this, Andrew. So you and I have had several conversations on divine hiddenness, and now you and I have both published on interacting with that objection raised against the knowledge of God, as Paul would say in 2 Corinthians 10:5. In fact, I really remember you and I hanging out in Lawrence, Kansas, discussing this issue, and we went to this coffee shop that served orange flavored coffee. Do you remember that?
I do.
It was really good. I thought this is going to be horrible, and then it was fantastic. Anyway, that I think about that all the time. But we had just a fantastic conversation about divine hiddenness, and yeah, in this book, chapter 16, I spill a lot of ink talking about how if Molinism is true, if humans have libertarian freedom and God has middle knowledge, and we can apply it to defeat all the problems of evil, including the problem of divine hiddenness, and namely with John Schellenberg's argument. But you take a slightly different approach, and I think defeat it in another way. What would you, can you give us a nutshell version of how you, as Paul would say in that same passage, how you destroy, in a friendly way, destroy this argument raised against the knowledge of God? Yeah.
Yeah. And well, first of all, divine hiddenness is one of the toughest topics, I think, to write on, in the sense of it, like a problem of evil type stuff. It's really hard because there's different kinds of hiddenness. There's a kind that even Christians, that we go through, and as in scripture is replete with examples. Where are you, God? Why are you hiding your face from me? Where are you at? So there's a sense of where believers, there's some hiddenness there with believers. But then there's an other aspect of hiddenness where there is people that don't believe, and I think they're resistant to believe. Now, I try to categorize based on what I've read in the literature. And that's the other thing too about this chapter. I wanted to provide a good overview of what a lot of experts have said on this, and then just kind of weigh in and add my thoughts. I didn't want to provide some robust technical argument like I've done in my published work for like a philosophy and theology journal. But I wanted to just kind of lay the land, explain what it is, and give some information behind that, and just educate the reader. And so for those who aren't aware of what the problem is, it's basically is, if God's all loving, all good, and then why are there people out there that want to believe that he exists but can't believe? Why aren't we seeing more people in the world that believe that God exists? And although a vast majority of the people in the world do believe that God exists or some higher power, there's still some that don't, and the atheist is rightly asking why. And so I just look into, from what I can tell, and I feel like it's better if we categorize that there's not just resistors, but I think there's different kinds of resistors. So that's why in the book I call them minor resistors and major resistors. So these are people that are resisting God, right? So the minor resistor is going to be, let's start with a major resistor. A major resistor, a non-believer, is going to be like, you know what? I don't believe God exists, but if he showed up, I'd tell him to go to hell. And in fact, that's exactly what Dan Barker says. So I'd classify him as a major resistor, right? If God showed up, he'd still say, I don't want you, get away from me, So then there's minor resistors, where these are people that say they want a relationship with God, and they're like, yeah, I'd enter a relationship with God. Of course I would, But then when push comes to shove, they wouldn't. And so I don't think that they would, and they're not aware of that, of their own psychology. And so that's something that was common, a lot of times, that we think we would do X in some circumstance and we end up doing Y. And so I think that God doesn't reveal himself to these minor resistors for that reason. And I go into a lot of detail. But then there's oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. What you just said there, it sounded to me like you mentioned a counterfactual. Do you think middle knowledge plays a role there? I mean, so if God knew they would, even though they say that they want to be a believer, but God knew they would wind up rejecting him.
Right.
Do you say that maybe that's why God refrains from revealing himself in the way that they want?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I think God would have knowledge of counterfactuals, but I also have it to where I'm just being extra lenient here, where I say I'll give you even like an open theistic view, where I give God say it has exhaustive probabilistic knowledge, and he knows without 99% certainty of something occurring without him determining it in that hard, robust sense. But I'm more of the middle knowledge guy, and believe that that's how he's using this. So yes, I would say that.
Well, what I love here, Andrew, is with your work and my work on the hiddenness argument. So basically, I like to summarize the argument like this from based on Schellenberg's book. We could state it like this: premise 1, if God does not exist, there would never be any non-resistant non-believers. 2, there are non-resistant non-believers. 3, therefore God does not exist. And you take issue with premise 2 and say, no, there is no such thing as a non-resistant non-believer. And while I think you're right, in my work, I grant it for the sake of argument and say, I take issue with the first premise. So really, and I use Molinism to explain why God would allow non-resistant non-believers if there are such things. And I use people like Jordan Peterson as a case study and others. And I wrote that when it was clear that Jordan Peterson wasn't a Christian. Now it's been interesting to watch his journey. But anyway, I don't want to get into that right now. What's cool is between the two of us, we have reason to doubt both premises. And so what is supposed to be the best argument for atheism, according to, I've heard this from many academics. I just don't think it's a strong argument at all. Both of those premises are so weak, then it's not nearly as powerful as a lot of people think it is.
Yeah, I agree. I in the book, I do say I don't think there is any such thing as a non-resistant non-believer, and that's someone that says, no, I really do want God, and it's true, they really do, but God's just not going to reveal himself to them. I say there's no such thing, but if there is, like I said, kind of like what you said, I do grant it for the sake of argument, just for the sake, for some of the readers, for what Schellenberg had to say. I say, well, they're only temporary non-resistant non-believers, and that's because God is waiting for the exact time, the right time in which they're ready to commit themselves to what I call an optimal relationship. And so I say God wants an optimized relationship, one that is meant for eternity. And so there's just some things in there that come into play. So I kind of unpack that a little bit in there. So
love it.
Yeah, that's good. So people need to get the book and read that part of it. It made me think of, the Apostle Paul would have been a very hard, resistant non-believer in the Christian God, and God optimized that relationship for sure, right? And then it made me think of, we had a conversation with Tyson James recently about William Lane Craig's debate or conversation with Alex O'Connor, where William Lane Craig at the end said, given that recent conversation, he doubts the fact that Alex O'Connor is a non-resistant non-believer like he insists. So I think
he seemed pretty resistant during that debate.
He seemed pretty resistant,
pretty emotional.
Yeah, absolutely. So make sure if you're watching this and you're going, man, this is some interesting stuff, I think this book would be definitely for you. Guys, I want to ask this question. Maybe both of you can chime in. Let's start with somebody who already believes, and then somebody who's maybe a skeptic looking for a resource. Where it's a pretty big book for somebody who's a believer that's just getting into this sort of thing. Where should they start in the book? Should they read it cover to cover? Or is it a book you read cover to cover, or is it one you'd say actually start here because it will help you understand the rest of the book, that sort of thing?
No, I'm glad you asked that, because I think one of the things that's unique about this book, and it's because of Andrew's work, is it can be useful to those who are new to the conversation and useful to those who've been in the midst of it for decades. And the reason that's the case is that if you just read the transcript of the debate at the beginning, that is pretty rudimentary. That's just kind of some basic. I only had 45 minutes. The debate was an hour and a half. So basically I had to cut that in half. I had 45 minutes to make a case for the existence of God. I had to keep it simple. And so if you just read the transcript of the debate, I think there it stays pretty simple. I'm just laying out some bare bones arguments for the existence of God. I'm not putting much, meat to the bones. It's just here's why I think that there is a God, some basic premise 1, premise 2, conclusion. So I think everybody can benefit from that. And then the rest of the book, then, where Dan and I continue the debate and our writing, and then definitely in the contributors, then it gets much deeper. And that for folks that are new to this conversation, that might get a bit overwhelming to them. But for folks that have been involved in this for a long time, they'll really appreciate those latter chapters. So I think it can be useful to both groups of folks.
Yeah, the only thing I would add, exactly right, Adam. And I feel like some of the chapters, by the people that are weighing in on the topic, some of these other people, they do get a little technical at times, and so it's going to take some wading through the weeds at certain parts of it with certain chapters. But I think if someone's committed to it, they can certainly do that, and they'll be fine. But as far as introductory, it's perfect because it starts out, like Adam said, with the debate, and that's at a very introductory level. And then Adam and Dan have additional remarks that they didn't have time to mention in the debate. So they get to expand even more on what they said and some more things to each other. And so that's at a really introductory level that anyone, junior high can understand. And yeah, and then it moves into, then you start seeing a progression from those other chapters where it starts with, these topics from the debate, divine hiddenness, fine tuning, etc. Those start to get more technical and a little more robust. So someone can dig deeper and learn a lot more by looking at those chapters. And then after that, it goes back down to a very introductory level where we have Adam and Dan responding to these guys and helping break down what they had to say. So it's really unique. So it starts out super intro, gets a little technical, gets a little more robust, then it ends in a more introductory level. So it's kind of a nice sandwich, so to speak.
So that's a great point. So I lead these Maven immersive experience trips. In fact, just got back home last night around 12:30 a.m. from an apologetics based mission trip with teenagers, and some of the students were asking me what would be good books, to get into more Christian philosophy and metaphysics and things like that. I didn't even think about this at the time, but this would probably, now that I think about that, at least say, hey, you could start with part of this book, a big book, but you don't have to read the whole thing. Read the transcript, stay there, and if you feel comfortable with that, you could keep moving forward. Really, by the end of it, I mean, it reminds me of getting, easing your way into the baby pool, and then maybe into the 3 foot. You get comfortable there, and then you slowly get deeper and deeper, and pretty soon you're in the diving pool. And this might be is there any other book like this?
Not that I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of the things I was going to say that I like, and full disclosure, I haven't read the whole book, but one of the things I like about it is It seems to me, normally all of these conversations, you have to get multiple. You have to get a journal article here. You have to buy a book here. You got to buy, you got to watch a YouTube video here. You got to go a bunch of different places to find these sorts of arguments. Here, it's all in one place, and not only are all of those things in one place, all of those things are in one place where they do a good job of covering the arguments at a certain depth. Of course, you could write a 1,000-page tome on many of these things, but it's a one-stop shop for, hey, if you want to talk about the teleological argument or meta-ethics, or if you want to talk about the hiddenness objection, that's all right there, and you can just get one book, and that introduces you to all of these things. Whereas otherwise, you got to pull from a bunch of different places, and the options can get a little overwhelming. So that's something I like about it too.
Yeah. So even just take an example like the problem of evil. So you could see, Dan Barker making the problem of evil argument, my response to, the problem of evil, and then some experts chime in on the problem of evil, and then Dan and I come back towards the end of the book and respond to what the experts had to say about the problem of evil. So you get multiple back and forth just on that one topic, and there's several topics that we do that with, so you can see back and forth between Christians and atheists on multiple topics.
That's good. Hey, if you want more conversations like this, you should like this video and subscribe to this channel as well, because we can be a one-stop shop for these things too. I'm sure we'll have Adam on, and hopefully Andrew on too in the near future to discuss more of these sorts of topics. Adam, I remember reading your book, Divine Love Theory, on a plane on the way to Zambia, and it was great. Wow. Someone sitting next to me said, "What is that?" And so I had like a half an hour conversation with them about what it was. So it was really cool. So you can check that out too. It's much smaller than the book that we're talking about now, but still accessible, definitely. All right, let's say there's a person that is genuinely, they would call themselves a non-resistant non-believer, and they're honestly undecided. Where would you point to them in this book? If I hand it to them, where would you point them first?
Well, I would say point them to my chapter, since it's on divine hiddenness. But yeah, I think just reading the whole thing, obviously. But I mean, if you're going to start with a non-resistant non-believer who says that, they should probably start with the chapter that I wrote, and then the chapter that Joe Foley wrote on the hiddenness of God. I think that would be a good place to at least start for that. So what do you think, Adam?
Yeah, I try to chime in too with divine hiddenness. In that concluding chapter, I'm trying to respond to everybody. So that concluding chapter, I'm responding to people about first cause arguments, moral arguments, divine hiddenness, problem of evil. But I remember especially towards the end of my final concluding chapter, chime in on divine hiddenness. And I think that might be really pertinent for somebody to think through those few paragraphs I wrote about it there.
Let me ask you guys this: between the actual debate with Dan Barker and then the other atheists or skeptics who contributed to the book, do you think the best argument is the argument from divine hiddenness? And if not, what do you think the best argument made was to not believe in God?
I think that probably that's the thing. It wasn't really unpacked. We didn't have someone write an entire chapter on this, but I just think the problem of evil is something that is at the atheist advantage, just because we all struggle with it, and it's so emotionally appealing that if you're good with rhetoric of any kind, which a lot of pastors are, and of course Dan is an ex-pastor, and so I mean, when you start preaching about children hospitals and all these other terrible things, I mean, it's just, there's no way you can run from that. That's just, to me, the hardest thing to face, even though I think there's great answers. It's just that emotional aspect of it that overwhelms us, and I think that's the hardest objection to overcome.
Yeah, but that and you would say that from the contributors in the book, they would agree with you?
Probably, I would say so. Seems like even one of them said that that is the primary argument that keeps them from believing in God. I'm forgetting which contributor said that, but yeah, in the debate, since the debate was so short, Dan and I really didn't have time. So the transcript of the debate doesn't really delve into the problem of evil as much, but our additional remarks chapters do. So I've got a whole section where I respond to the problem of evil in my, not my concluding chapter, but my chapter where I'm responding to issues we didn't have time to cover in the debate. And for the readers out there, I will say I put in an Easter egg. I'm a lover of pop culture type stuff, so I put an Easter egg in that section where I cover the problem of evil. So if anybody can find that Easter egg, email me or contact me and let me know
Oh, man.
if they think they discovered it. But it's a pop culture reference that I don't think many people will get.
Did you use Dr. Strange?
No, not even close.
Oh, come on.
That would be too simple.
He couldn't.
That would be too easy.
He couldn't use Doctor Strange. I think you've copywritten that.
Do I have? Oh, I've got the copyright on Doctor Strange now.
Yeah,
I see.
Yeah, you got the IP on. I'm just kidding.
It's much more subtle than that. So if people find it, I'll be surprised. But there might be a few people out there who are able to find it. Yeah. But anyway, the problem of evil I think is huge. And I will tell you one story about something that happened after the debate. I like to share this story because it was really encouraging to me, and just how God can use these things, and not only the debate, but now this book. So one of the things that happened after the debate is an older atheist couple came up to me and they said, look, we weren't going to come this year. We come every year to this conference, but it's the same speakers. We're atheists. It's the same topics. We weren't going to come this year, but I'm so glad that we did, because what you presented, Adam, we had never heard anything like that before. So that was just encouraging me. You just never know in any environment you're in, the type of seeds that you might be planting and how God may use those.
Yeah. And it goes to show that these debates are academic exercises, but they're not only academic exercises. There are things that God's going to use. The problem of evil, I've always told people that the problem of evil is actually pretty answerable philosophically, but the most difficult question pastorally. I think there are really good responses philosophically to it, but I think pastorally, man, when you sit in a room with somebody who's lost their baby and they start asking that question, the philosophy doesn't matter anymore, right? Yeah. So it's definitely, I resonate with that, the emotional constraints of that for sure. All right, so this conversation was about really how to have healthy debate in a lot of ways about very important issues. What do you think it means for ordinary conversations? How should Christians engage a thoughtful skeptic differently after reading or listening to your project?
I hope they engage in just a respectful way. I mean, you can, like you said, get together and have conversation with someone and still walk away as friends afterwards. And so like the whole debate kind of started from that, like Adam mentioned, because of a pastor and an atheist just getting coffee together. And so, I mean, the very debate itself in this book's, was kind of started from that. And so I hope people can see that you can have discussions about these things and still walk away as friends afterwards. And I've done that myself with several people. And so that's the other thing too, is some of the interlocutors that are in the book and the ones that I reached out to, they're really good people on both sides, and they're known for a respectful dialogue. And it's perfect because Adam, like as you heard, he does exactly that. So I'm honored to be part of that, and to just to see Adam's respect and just the guy that he is. And in fact, Dan even said out of his 118 debates or something like that he's had, he said this was his most favorite, his most enjoyable, and he gives Adam props. And I think it's because Dan Barker has a bad reputation, but a lot of it, maybe rightfully so on certain things that he says. But I do know this: I've watched a lot of his debates, and people come out swinging at him, and they swing right at him and give it all, and they're very disrespectful to him. They act like he's an idiot, talk to him like he's an idiot. So things that Christians shouldn't be doing, as First Peter 3:15, and so getting that gentleness and respect, and Adam portrays that so well, and that's probably why Dan said this is my favorite debate I've ever done, and he's done a lot.
Yeah.
Well, anything you'd add, Adam? Oh,
well, before Adam talks, I just want to say I completely agree with Dan Barker that Adam is that kind of a guy, and I've known you for multiple years now, and when I think of somebody whose moral character matches what they preach, I mean, you're it's just you've challenged me, even when I just watch you and interact with others. I have the tendency, somebody's going to disagree with me, I'm like, oh man, got to respond. I've called you before. I even called you. Here's a funny story. I'm on the exercise bike, working out at the gym, and I'm listening to podcasts like I always do. And so I'm listening to Reasonable Faith, and Dr. Craig actually did a podcast about Adam's book, Divine Love Theory. And I actually kind of thought Dr. Craig was misunderstanding some of the stuff as well. And I'm calling Adam, and I'm like, you got to respond. And Adam's like, well, I don't know, maybe, he just doesn't get worked up. He's just I don't know. I've learned so much from Adam, but yeah, now that I've bragged about you, Adam, because I know that you will never brag about yourself, what would you add to that?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. It's just it's nice to be recognized for your work. You put a lot of time into these things and a lot of education. I left my career in actuarial science after 10 years. I did that in college, and then God pulled me into full-time ministry, and you spend 13 years going to seminary, serving as a pastor, and put a lot of time and effort into your education and your work, trying to win folks to Christ as best as you can through his empowerment. And so it's just encouraging, to see folks benefit from it, and to come alongside and help with it. And I get to play a role in this conversation in some way, shape, or form, and hopefully further some of these conversations. And so I'm glad to be a part of it all with you guys.
Yeah. Well, we're glad to be a part of it with you too. If you've watched this this podcast to the end of it, please pick up a copy of the book. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it at Erdman's. You can get it. Is it in bookstores? I thought I saw it was in Barnes and Noble. I thought I saw that. So you can even go to a brick and mortar bookstore and get the book if you want a good old time shopping experience. But it's available in all of those places. Please get that. Get it for a skeptic friend as well, and say, hey, let's have a study. Let's have a book study together. This would be great.
Hey,
how would you recommend people get it?
Sorry, Josh, I did want to mention Erdman's is giving it right now 40% off through their website. So you just go in there and enter the promo code debate40 and you'll get it 40% off. So that'll save you some money if you don't want to go to the bookstore, which is probably not in every Barnes and Noble or bookstore around. That might just be a few, but anyways, I do recommend that. So Adam, you want to add to that?
Yeah, the only other thing that came to mind was the debate was just about the existence of God. So I argued in the debate for what I called mere theism, just that there is a God. I wasn't necessarily arguing for the Christian understanding of God, but in my later chapters, I was able to do that. I shared the gospel. I made a case not only just for a generic God that exists, but the Christian understanding of God. And so I'm glad I had the room and the space to do that in the book, because I wasn't able to do it in that short 45 minutes I had in the debate. So I share the gospel. I make a case for scripture, the Bible being from God. And so I'm glad that I had the opportunity to do that and share the gospel twice in the book. So be praying that God will use it to draw people to faith in Christ.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love that.
Well, I've got one more question for you. I asked you, what was the strongest argument against the existence of God? Now, I know when you ask Christians this, they oftentimes will disagree because there's so many good reasons to believe in God. But for both of you, what's your favorite argument for the existence of God?
Yeah, I can just quickly say I specialize in the moral argument.
Yeah.
So that's what most of my study and research and writing have to do with is meta ethics and where does morality come from. So the moral argument is what I work in mostly. But if you would ask me what argument I find most compelling, it would be design arguments. So that would include biological design, DNA, the fine tuning of the universe. Those design arguments to me, I find to be the most compelling. I don't specialize in them because I don't have professional training in the sciences. My professional training is more in theology and philosophy and meta ethics. That's why I specialize in my research and writing in the moral argument. But in terms of compelling arguments, I find design arguments to be the most compelling.
Nice. What about you, Andrew?
I'd say that consciousness, the soul, I really think is probably the strongest for me. Just that there is this non-physical reality or aspect about us that can survive after we stop living physically, so to speak. And then, of course, maintaining identity over time. And, of course, you got near-death experiences. There's just on and on and on. Just this unifying feature of who we are. I'd say the soul. That's my favorite.
Nice.
It's good. That gets touched on briefly in the debate too, by the way. I think I remember that as well. So all of those things you can find in the book. Like Andrew said, go to Erdman's right now. We'll have the link in the description. And what's the promo code again?
Debate 40, and it's till the end of September. After that, it goes back to full price.
Okay, debate 40, and you'll get 40% off. And then with the 60% you save, go to Convincing Proof and donate the 60% you save to Convincing Proof to help support Adam Lloyd Johnson's ministry as well. So I'll throw that plug in there. Still spend the full amount, just 40. Get the book 40% off. Go spend the extra 40% on supporting Adam's work if you enjoyed the book. So
there we go.
That's
works for me.
Yeah. So we'll have there other places they can reach you. I already mentioned, Adam, your ministry, Convincing Proof, preventingproof.com. Is that correct?
Org.
See, I needed you to fix it. The editor was supposed to fix it, but he stayed quiet.
I'm off duty right now.
Convincingproof.org. Andrew, where can people find more of your work?
I just a guy that I just work in the local church, just try to be a blessing to some of the churches in the area. I don't have a big ministry. It's called Inspiring Christianity Ministries, but I have a website, inspiringchristianity.com, but I haven't really done a lot with it. I do work full time to support my family and to be able to do ministry. And so maybe one day I'll have a full on ministry or I'll be in it full time. But for now, I'm just this guy in the shadows and I'm okay with that.
Well, you're not in the shadows anymore.
Yeah.
Not after this book came out. So I'm glad you're no longer in the shadows and you're starting to come out. But I'm really looking forward to a lot more from you in the future, Andrew. And I know we can expect that from you as well, Adam. And Adam, you said that you were honored to be part of this team, and I can't agree anymore. I am humbled and honored to count you as both of you as friends and as colleagues, and I love working together and also having fun together.
Yeah,
praise God.
Yeah. Absolutely, and as one with the least amount of credentials in the room, I would actually agree with that. So it's been good to get to know you guys, and you guys have sharpened me and encouraged me in my pursuit of academics as well. So thank you for watching. Make sure you give this video a like, share it, subscribe to the channel. Go to convincingproof.org and see what Adam has in store for you there. And go get the book. Go get the book, Debating God's Existence. It will be something you will not regret. Any last words from any of you?
No, just thanks for the opportunity. I enjoy conversing with you guys, and this has been wonderful.
Yeah, appreciate it. I think a lot of you guys. I love your guys' ministry. Thanks for all the work that you do, and even in the culture, sometimes we get attacked when we stand up for truth and for what's right. So I just continue to pray for you guys and encourage you to keep doing what you're doing and fight the good fight. So thank you.
Thanks, guys. Hey,
Thank you.
I can't recommend this book enough, and especially page 34 and 35. Just make sure you spend a lot of time on those 2 pages.
Yeah, or highlight certain words, that sort of thing.
That's right.
Yeah, those are the only words highlighted in Tim's copy. It's right here. All right. Thank you for joining us. And this book, and hopefully this podcast, will help you stay reasonable. And as we always sign off with,
stay reasonable.
Stay reasonable.